Here we are, we're going to make some frames today. When I make frames, I like to use 2x4s for the end pieces. If I can get 3 out of this one. These need to be 6 inches and 1/4. 6 and 1/4 inches. We're going to be making these little end pieces. Alright, the first thing we got to do is, this needs to be 1 3/8 inches. So I've got my saw set up here. I'm just going to run these through and make them 1 3/8 inches. So here we go. Alright, now another way that you can get these to the 1 3/8 inch thickness, rather than using the table saw like you saw me doing, which looks a little bit dangerous, because it probably is with the blade sticking up that high. You can use a joiner or a planer or something to slowly whittle them down to that. So let's take a look and do that. Okay, the next step in making of these frames, these need to be 6 1/4 inches long. So I've set me up a stop block here at 6 1/4 inches. Now I'm just feeding these through, cutting them. Alright, there's all of our pieces. They are now what's going to be the right thickness, and they're the right length. Alright, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to cut 2 channels where you see this pencil marks here. These are not exact, I just scribbled these on here so you could see. So we're going to cut a channel all the way through. We're going to cut a channel all the way through. Alright, you can see my little drawing here. It's not the greatest in the world. I just needed it so I could have a quick reference when I'm out here in the shop. So you can pause the video and take a look at that. So, what we're going to do, as you can see, this top notch is 3/4 inch, but this bottom notch is only 5/8 inch wide. So let's go ahead and do the top one first. That's 3/4 inch, and we're going back to the dado blades. So 3/4 of an inch is 6/8, and as I said before, each one of these is an eighth. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oop, wrong way. 5, 6. Key washer. Hello. Right, now we need to get the fence set up. Actually, we're not going to use the fence. We're going to use a tenon jig. This thing is awesome because you got to hold these up on their ends. So I'll get this the right distance from the blade here, and then all we'll have to do is put each one in and run it through. And that's what we'll be doing. So I'll measure this out real quick and get it set. Alright, the distance we want this is 5/16 away. 5/16. If you refer back to the diagram, this should allow us 5/16 ear, 5/16 ear with our 3/4 dado in the middle. We're going to practice on a piece of scrap first to make sure that it looks good, it sits good, before we start messing up any real wood. Alright, after a tiny little adjustment on the first one, the second one came out perfect. So now we are ready to cut. Alright, now you can see how this is coming together. I had these two. Let me just say first, it's always a good idea when you start making these frames to start out with more than what you're going to need, because you're going to make mistakes along the way, or there's going to be a knot in the wrong place and the piece is going to fall apart. You're going to lose pieces along the way. So just since you have to set up everything, knock out one part, run them all through, set up the next thing, run them all through, it's better to run more than what you're going to need. And I did that, but I'm quickly running out of extra. So this one, the board was warped. It started to cup, this way. I don't know if you can tell, but that made it really, it doesn't look as bad than that. There you go. See how thin that ear is compared to the other, and it curves. So I don't think I'll be able to use that. I might be able to get a few off this side of it, but this side's garbage. And then this one just slipped out of my darn hand, and it is really screwed up, so it is not going to be used for this at all. So I think I can get 8 once you slice this into individual ears. So, that screw up represents 8 pieces that I will not be making. So that's why I say I'm quickly running out of extras. Alright. The next thing to do is to set it up to cut the other one. On the bottom side, as you can see, these ears are going to be 1/4 inch each with a 5/8 hole. So for 5/8 hole, I'll have to get the dado blade set up from 6/8 down to 5/8, and I'll get all that ready and we will cut the next ones. Okay, these ears are going to be a 1/2 inch deep. I'm going to get me a 1/2 inch drill bit. Set my depth. Okay, something I just realized, but I'm glad I caught this before I did this. So these pieces, this bottom part is going to end up at 1 1/8 inch because you're going to take an eighth of an inch off this side and an eighth of an inch off this side to give it these legs, like you can see in these examples how they're smaller at the bottom. So when we go to put this in the middle, it's not really going to be a fourth. It's going to be a fourth plus that eighth that we cut off. So we have not cut this eighth off yet. So we really need this ear to be 3/8 and this ear to be 3/8. Then when we cut them down, they'll be the fourth later. So let's just not get that confused because I don't want to start all over again after I've messed all of these up. All right, I'm going to get this set up for 3/8 of an inch away from the blade using a drill bit like we did before, because that seems to work really well. 3/8. All right, put that drill bit in there. All right, so that should be 3/8 inch away. If we can trust DeWalt's drill bits. Smaller still needs a little bit of tweaking. I'm going to fine tune this, bring you guys back. I'm sure you don't want to see every painstaking second of this. All right, I've dialed it in. Three eighths, 3/8. All right, time to rock and roll. I verified everything. It's a 1/2 inch deep, 3/8 on either side, 5/8 in the middle. Also, it's a good idea at this point. I just like to draw an arrow on each one so I know where top is and which is bottom. Since they're slightly different, it just makes it easier when you just pick one up real quick and you want to work on it and you don't make any stupid mistakes. And it only takes a 1/2 second to draw a little arrow on there, letting you know where the top is or anything, just to let you know. Time for a little bandsaw. Got a fence set up here, 3/8 of an inch away from the blade. We want to take 3/8 inch slices. I could do this on the table saw, but with the table saw being an 1/8 inch wide, I'm going to lose an 1/8 inch on every single slice, which is less than ideal. With this tiny blade, I'll end up getting more pieces out of this. Let's do it. Alright, trying to work on the B frames today, but I have to replace the tires on my bandsaw. These were cracking, falling apart. The blade was slipping all over and it was starting to mess up all the hard work I did to make these pieces. Just trying to slice them into this was coming out horrible. So I got me some new bandsaw tires here. Be putting those on and getting that all working and going. I got the top wheel all cleaned off, ready for the tire. I still need to clean the bottom wheel up. Also going to be putting some more cool blocks on. This will hold the blade in place. And I ordered some new bearings so I could replace these because these squeal really loud. I figure while I'm in here I'll replace them. Alright, bandsaw is repaired. It's got new bearings, new cool blocks to guide the blade, and new belts. And now it is cutting like a dream. I'm getting 9 slices out of every one of our boards that we made. Whereas before I was barely getting 7. And they were all screwed up and not straight. So let's see how good she cuts. 9. Very nice. The next thing we got to do, let's find an example one here. The final thing on these earpieces is that we need to take this 1/8 inch off this side and this side to make those little shoulders. So I've set up my bandsaw here. I've got this piece exactly 1/8 inch away from the blade. And then I've got this stop block here so that as these come up, they'll hit and it'll be the perfect length. So just bam, flip it over, do the other shoulder. Rinse and repeat 1,000 times. One thing I just realized earlier this weekend was that I thought I needed 90 of these earpieces because I needed 9 frames. But I'm now realizing that there's 2 of these on every frame, and I wasn't thinking about that before. So I really needed like about 180 of these. And I think maybe I'm close to that just because I went back and cut some extras after the bandsaw gnarled up some. But yeah, so you can see in stacks of 10, those are all the ones we got to cut the shoulders on. And I got some back there on the back you can see. Those are ones that are a little boogered up here or there that I don't want to use, but if I don't have enough, I will use those. So I just haven't thrown them away, but they're not ideal. And that's why they're sitting back there. So let's get going. I'm just going to freehand these because it's just a tiny little cut. I just want to tell you guys, be careful because as you can see, even though I marked every single one of these on the top, I still grabbed a stack and fed the entire stack in the wrong way and cut them on the tops instead of the bottoms. I went ahead and cut them on the bottoms too, hoping that maybe I could stick some glue in these cracks and fix them. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. I hope I will. I don't think that'd be too bad with a little glue in it because I don't want to lose all 10 of these. But be careful. Pay attention. I was just hooking along, got to doing a lot of them, going fast, and the next thing you know, a whole stack's done wrong. freehand this far, you don't really need to set up anything. It's such a tiny little cut, it's not the end of the world. It's not exactly perfect. All right, one more quick note before we get on to the next pieces. All of these pieces that you see there that we are throwing, that we have cut off, you might be tempted to throw these away. But let me tell you, I like to save every little thing I can when it comes to woodworking, because you never know when you might need a piece that size again. So I found out these are really good for spreading glue. You put a little glue in there, and then you can use these sticks to wipe it around, you know, and then you just pitch them away. So I don't throw these away because they're perfect for that. I just stick them in a little Ziploc bag, and I've got little glue sticks for a long, long time until probably I have to do frames again next year. So just a little tip. I've cut these down. They need to be 17 3/4 inches long. So I took that 8-foot board and I cut it down, and I got I got 5. These are the pieces that we're going to be making. In here, these are the bottoms. So they are 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 17 3/4 long. So you get your 17 3/4 there. The board is a 3/4 inch thick board, so there's your 3/4. And we're just going to cut off 1/2 inch slices, like these, and get as many as we can get out of here. I have my fence set, like I said, a 1/2 inch away, so that we can take 1/2 inch slices off this board. I have the blade set just high enough to clear this board, not overly. So we're just going to take these one by one. Now, one thing you have to be aware of when you cut like this is that you are subject to kickback, because this piece, once it cuts free, is going to be bound between this blade and this fence, and it's going to want to shoot it back that way. So what I'm going to do is cut these, but I'm going to make sure to get a hold of these pieces before they cut at the end so I can pull them on through. You just do not want to start cutting this and just let go, because like I said, once it gets to the end, that free board is going to become a missile. So here we go. All right, there we go. It's 89, 90, somewhere along in there. For those 10-inch wide boards, I was able to get 15 out of the width. So 15, and it was an 8-foot board, so I was able to get 5 rows. I mean, rows, whatever you want to call it. So 5 rows of 15 is what I was able to get out of that 8-foot long board by 10 inches wide. Just FYI. Next thing we got to do is go and take every one of these now and trim the ends. Here and here on both sides. Here's a frame, and you can see here. We got to take that little notch out. Just see, it's a tiny little notch so that it'll fit down in these things. So we got to do that to every one of them. There's just so many little cuts on each thing. So anyway, let me get everything set up and we'll do that. All right, actually, before we do that, we're going to do this groove. We'll groove all of them. Then we'll come back and do the tiny little notch I was talking about earlier. Since I've already got the table saw set up, and this is the width of a table saw blade, it's just easier than me putting the dado blade in now and switching everything all around. So we'll do the groove first. There's so many damn steps to make these things. This video is going to be 7 hours long. Alright, anyway. 5/16. You want this blade 5/16 away from your fence. That'll give you 5/16 on either side with an 1/8 inch kerf in the middle. I've raised the blade just shy of a 1/4 inch. It's just really close, but not quite there. You just want a channel down this thing. You don't want to cut the darn thing in half. So let's go ahead and cut one. See how it works. So we're going to go about that deep. And there you have it. Only 89 more to go. See you in a bit. Alright, a quick tip to make sure you got this channel centered and you're not, too far to this side or too far to that side. What I like to do is cut a channel and then turn the saw blade off, push it up there. Let's see if I can do it from the back side so it'll make more sense. If you see, that lines up perfectly with the saw blade, which is because we fed it through that way supposedly. Now turn it around and check it from the other end. If it still hits the saw blade, then you're dead in the middle. There you go. Quick tip. Alright, all our grooves are done. Now it's time to start cutting those little notches that we talked about before. These notches are a 1/16 of an inch thick and 3/8 of an inch wide. So as you can see, I have my 3/8 inch dado blade. There we go. It's 3/8, so when we feed this through, it's going to take about that much off our stick. I've got it a 1/16 high, so it's just going to shave a 1/16 off. We'll have to do that to both sides. Let's go ahead and feed one through. I've got this block here, just like before, to protect my metal fence. Here we go. Not much to it, huh? 1/16 off each side. 3/8 inch deep. Let's see if it fits into one of our ears that we made. Alright, I've got this so that it is fitting into my ears perfectly. You should take off about a 1/16 off of each side. I found that made mine a little bit loose. So I went a little less than a 1/16. This goes this way. I think it's more important for a good fit than doing 1/16 just because I'm supposed to do a 1/16. So I just took a smidge off each side. I did several of them, tested until I got the perfect fit. Now I'll cut them that way. Time to cut the final pieces. The tops of the frames. These are 19 inches in length. So I'm going to be taking that board right there and cutting it into 19-inch sections. Okay, there's our 19-inch blanks. Or they're not blanks yet, they're just cut 19-inch segments, I mean. You cut them on the table saw, which uses 1/8 of an inch every time it cuts, so you're losing that 1/8. And when you're cutting this many small pieces, that starts adding up to inches. With the bandsaw and its tiny little curve, gonna get way more, and it'll cut straight lines now. So let's do it. I've got it all set up to cut the width. And the width is 1 inch. We're going to be cutting 1-inch pieces. Alright, the next step into making these is this board is 6/8, 3/4, and it needs to be 5/8. So I have to trim every board 1/8 of an inch. So I've set this up 1/8 of an inch away from the blade so that we can cut those. I like to save these 1/8 pieces. They come in handy later. Okay, all those cuts are done. I can't describe to you the level of fun that it was. Not. So you see all the pieces that were cut off and all the pieces that were there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut these notches right here. You're going to do them on 3 sides. You can do it on both ends. Make sure you do this bottom one on the same side. You don't do one on this end and one on that end. I'm not saying I've done that, I'm just saying it can happen. Alright then, I guess the first thing is I need to tell you that this is about 1/8 of an inch high. So just barely sticking up above the surface there. And it is 3/8 wide, the width of our pieces that we made earlier for our ears. Okay, and you need this to be 5/8 away from the blade. So you want that notch to start at 5/8 and go 3/8 from there. Let's cut one and see what it looks like. Alright, now let's see if it fits one of our ear pieces here. And it does not fit. It's a little tight. Oh, there it goes. Let's wrestle it a little bit. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is take the edges off the corners. So they're not 90s like this. We want to make them into 45s. Table saw blade. This is protecting my metal fence. I got it right up next to the blade. Just going to feed these through. I've got my miter gauge here set at a 45-degree angle. So when I put that under there, it just knocks those corners right off. There you have it. A little bit of a nicer profile than the others. So, all right, next we're going to do the groove. That you see, like we did in the bottom piece, for putting foundation in. If you're going to use foundation, then you need those grooves. I can tell you that I don't always use foundation, but I take those pieces that we cut off earlier, these little 1/8 inch pieces, and I'll glue a piece into this slot that we make. But I'll break it off to the right length. And then when you, even if you don't have foundation, it just gives the bees something so they start in the middle. And hopefully it will keep them building straight. So I may buy foundation, but if I don't, I will put something just in the top one like that. And these pieces that we cut off earlier, that 1/8 strip that we cut off, they're perfect for that groove. So that's why I said don't throw them away. So let's get these grooves cut. I've got this all set up. It's just 1/8 inch wide, just the width of the blade there, the curve that's created. We want it about, however deep that was earlier, what is it, about 3/16 to deep there. And that's all there is to it. We're just going to run them over one by one. So here we go. All of them are cut. Alright, it's time to put some of these together. So, I got some of these little sticks from earlier in the video to help spread the glue. 2 end pieces, a bottom, a top, some glue, put it on there, dude. Alright. Well, that wasn't loud or anything, was it? I'll mute it for you guys, though. All right. Looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. All right. Now then, I guess you see your groove here, to explain to you what I was talking about earlier with your foundation. If you buy foundation, they come in these plastic strips. It's a little thinner at the top and the bottom, as you can see there, and that's made for fitting in that groove. So you just put it in the groove, then you just flex it and pop it into the other groove at the top, and it's in there. Now then, if you don't want to use the foundation, that's where these pieces come in that we sawed off earlier, that are an 1/8 inch. I like to take one, make sure it's the same length as the thing there. Still a little bit long. Broke that one in the wrong spot. Good thing I got extras. Take that. Run you a bead of glue. Now that yellow piece of foundation that you see sitting there is the only extra one I have. And I don't know that I'm going to buy any this year, so I'll probably be doing all of mine like this. But I wasn't 100% sure, that's why I went ahead and made the grooves in the tops and the bottoms, just so I have choices on what I want to do in the future. And there you go, you got your B-frame, you got your thing there in the middle so that they'll build straight down instead of cattywampus, or at least you hope that's what will happen. And that's all there is to it. Now then, I guess the only thing left to say is I think all of you can clearly see that building bee boxes, fun, easy, quick, probably worth it. Building bee frames, unless you just like the smell of sawdust and you got nothing else you can build right now to take that urge away, yeah, you can build bee frames. But I think you see there are a jillion little cuts. It takes forever. By the time it's all said and done, what you've spent on the wood, or even if you got the wood free for that matter, the time that you will spend making these, in my opinion, far exceeds the price that you can buy them from Man Lake or one of the other big boys. But I wanted to make this so you guys could see, and plus I just wanted to make them. And now that I've made them, I don't think I want to make no more. Alright, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's been a long video. Hope you got something out of it. This is Josh in Plano, Texas.